done so far. So far, lots of changes has been done, but still, as per the discussion I had with Nityananji, today I'm going to give you the basics of GST law so that we can understand and we can basically uh, conceptualize in our mind that what is GST and how it works. There might be some people who knows with GST uh, well in basically that in case wherever you have any doubt or any questions in between, you can basically raise your questions upfront so that we can discuss and we can give you the proper answer to that. So let's basically have a quick view of the basic GST structures. So today we are going to discuss about the GST overview, concept of input tax credit, the importance of e-waybill, fine and penalties, detention and seizures, point to be remember, and accounts and record management, and most importantly that how to handle your appeal matters under GST law. So let's start the GST overview first. Say prior to GST, basically that that pan India we have state-wise different tax and laws, which is called BAT law, and there are certain central law also like CST, then central excise, entry tax, state tax, etc., etc. So that the GST is basically an indirect tax levied on the supply of goods and service, which is applicable from 1st of July. Now, this law has been replaced many indirect tax laws that previously existed in India. GST is one indirect tax for the entire country, and the GST would be applicable to supply and goods and service both. So, what was the advantage of GST? GST has the basically that mainly that remove the cascading effect. In VAT regime, there was the concept of tax on tax. For example, there are so many taxes which was not creditable to the buyer. So as a result, there was cascading effect. So that has been replaced by adopting the new GST law. In GST, there is another advantage is basically no. That in past everything was offline. Under GST, that everything is every activities, including registration, return filing, application for refund, and respond to the notice, and including filing of appeal, everything is now online. So this is uh, one of the biggest basically relief to the industry. That let's understand the GST in a better way. That what are the benefit we are going to get from the GST law? So that one is the basic the thing is basically the decrease in the inflation. So that that in our costing, whenever we are giving any service or we are giving any selling any product, so it has a basically that cost is the one of the important element to basically to survive in the competitive market. So for that prior to this GST, that tax on tax was there. As a result, that there was huge basically additional tax burden on the consumer. So that's why that GST brings the removing of the cascading effect. Secondly, that no need for multiple registration of differential taxes like VAT, service tax, excise, entertainment tax, entry tax, luxury tax, octroi, so on. So another important part is basically ease of doing business. Ease of doing business, see basically that there are so many basically, if you can, as per our statistics says that around 70 to 75% business are basically either smaller, mid-range of business. They are basically deeply involved in basically how to survive in the market and how to do their business. They are not, they are basically neither they are capable enough nor they are basically willing to basically spend more time on the compliance part. So due to this, basically that there were basically they used to basically skip the interstate sales, that because that suppose that the anti-tax was there. For anti-tax, they were not selling to the those states where anti-tax was applicable, because that cost them more. So that common under GST, ease of doing business is possible, because that common national market is available and benefit to small taxpayers. Decrease in black transaction, self-regulating tax systems. So now everything is basically regulating through online and through electronic tax systems. Even though we are saying that self-regulating tax system is true, basic, it's a tax regulating automatic electronic tax system is available, but unfortunately that there are few so-called basically tax evader. They have started doing the basically that doing the issuing the fake invoices. That is one of the biggest challenge to the GST authorities nowadays. So far, as per my knowledge, there are more than 6 lakhs crore of GST evasion done by the fake suppliers. So this is one of the biggest challenge we are facing nowadays. Now come to the poorest state to gain. See, under VAT regime, there was a concept that the manufacturer state will get more revenue. Now that entire that process has been basically got changed. Now GST is consumption based tax. Even though that states, for example, in Delhi we have very limited manufacturing facility, but Delhi has the maximum consumption of the goods. As a result, Delhi used to get more revenue share from the GST authority, because maximum consumptions are happening in Delhi. So simultaneously, that state like Tripura, that northeastern states, they don't have manufacturing facilities. They are the consumer only. Due to these GST laws, because it's basically that they have the sharing of the GST process, that CGST, SGST, and IGST. Or due to those, they are getting more revenue than the manufacturing states. Make in India. Due to this, basically that GST now export to be zero rated. That protection of domestic industry, that is basically by way of giving the credit of IGST. What are the tax subsumed under GST? That under CGST, that central excise duty, additional excise duty, CBD, SAD, service tax, surcharge, and cesses, all, yeah, all these are basically subsumed under CGST. And hello. So under SGST, that VAT and sales tax, tax on lotteries and gambling, cases and surcharge, luxury tax, entertainment tax, and entry tax, all these tax has been clubbed in the subsumed under the SGST Act. Now let's understand that what is CGST, SGST, and what is IGST. See, CGST, SGST is basically applicable on the sale happening within the same state. That is called intrastate supplies. And all interstate in supplies comes under the IGST. So when you are making any sales to any customer who is basically situated within the same state, then you have to charge 50% of the SGST and 50% as the CGST. But when you are selling to interstate, any customer situated in, let's say, from UP to Delhi, then you have to charge IGST. That entire tax liability will be charged as IGST, and later on that IGST will be get basically distributed among the central state as per their internal sharing methods. Now let's come to the GST, who is basically needs to be get them registered. So every person has to be registered who has basically crossed the limit of 20 lakhs for service and 40 lakhs for goods. So there are some exempted services also that I'll come at later stage. That what is the general provision for regarding registration? Everyone knows about the GSTN number. That GST consists of what? I think very limited people have that idea that how to basically, like PAN number has basically their own identity. Similarly, GSTN has their own identity. That is basically that first two code is regarding your state code. For example, 22 means Maharashtra. 09 means what is called UP. 07 means Delhi, like that. And thereafter, the 10 digit is your PAN number, and the 13th and 4th digit is entity code. Whether you are a partnership firm, whether it is a proprietorship firm, whether it is a LLP, whether it is a limited company, whether it is a private limited company, that defines by this 13th and 14th number. 15th digit will be check digit. This check digit is basically that its internal control purpose. They have given this to specific each and every specific customers. Sub that here basically now question is basically whether I can take more than one GSTN for different branch office available within the same state or not. Yes, we can basically have separate registration for each business verticals, whether basically we are doing the same business or we are doing the business for different verticals. For example, that one branch office doing the business of, let's say, selling mobile phone, another branch selling TV, another branch selling that pharmaceutical items. For you have the option to basically have maintaining the all records under the single GSTN. Similarly, you have the option to basically go for separate GSTN for the respective premises also. Now, that for GST registration, PAN is mandatory. Let's come to the basically that what is the difference between VAT and current scenario under GST impact. That for export, under VAT no tax, under current scenario also no tax. During VAT import, on import BCD and CBD was 12.5% approximately. Now it is on import BCD IGST is around 18%. In sales, for local sale that VAT was there, for central sale CST was there. But in current scenario, that SGC CGST is basically for local sale and IGST is for central sale. And that the biggest change is here, that under stock previously for stock transfer there was no tax was involved. Now you are paying 18% IGST. This is not basically any loss to any company, but this is the pure cash flow issue, because this 18% will basically block until sold your product from the receiving state. Let's come to the concept of the input tax credit. So you know that what is input tax credit? Input tax credit, it means basically any tax you have paid on your purchase, and if that purchase is basically in furtherance to your business, then you are entitled to get the credit of that GST amount, which is basically offsetable against your output liability. Now let's understand that on what kind of in purchase or invoices ITC is available, and on what type of purchases you have to basically avoid to take the ITC. For, let's say that for if there is any purchase or any expense in relation to business purposes, ITC is available. For other purposes, the ITC is not available. So for other purpose, you need to understand what kind of transactions are comes under the other purpose. For example, you are giving any product as sample to your customer, then ITC available availed on your sample product, no, that you that is not admissible to you. Similarly, let's say that you have taken the insurance policy for your entire company or your entire employee for all your employees, that comes under the negative list. It means you are not entitled to get the take the input tax credit. Simultaneously, that for example, you have bought a car for your director, so GST applied on that car is not eligible for credit. So you have to understand the definition of input. Input means any goods other than the capital goods used or intend to be used by a supplier in the course of furtherance of business. And input service means any service which is in relation to in furtherance to business. Let's come to the basically that input tax credit on capital goods has a different parameters. For example, that whether you have availed depreciation on the on that purchase or not. If you have availed the depreciation on the tax amount, then you are not entitled to take the ITC. And in case you have basically availed the ITC on only on the basic value, then you are entitled to take the credit. So it's an example. For example, a cost of asset is 100 rupees. Let's say tax is 10% and total cost is 110. If depreciation has been charged on the 100 rupees, then ITC is available. If it is depreciation is charged on the entire value, then ITC is not available to you. That for availing any ITC, what are the basic requirement to understand whether that invoice is perfect or not, whether you are entitled to get the ITC against those invoices or not. You have to ensure, or you have to, your accountant should basically check this below parameters, that your invoice must be carrying one invoice number and date, customer name, shipping and billing address, customer GSTN, place of supply, HSN code or SSC code. SSN code basically usually used for goods, and SSC code is basically used for services. IT prescription, quantity, taxable value and discount if any, tax amount. These are the parameters. You have to ensure that these are the informations are available on the face of invoices. Here I have basically failed to mention another point, that is basically that QR code. If you are buying any product from any supplier whose turnover is more than 5 crore in a year, then it is mandatory for them to basically use the QR code for generating e-invoice. So if it is if QR code is not available on the face of invoice, then also you are not entitled to take the credit of ITC. Let's basically understand the basically that on the what are the documents based on which you can avail the credit. The basis is basically tax invoice, and tax invoice must be basically having all those information what we discussed in earlier slide. And debit note must be issued by the registered subtender or other prescribed tax paying documents. So it means basically that a tax invoice or a tax debit note is required to receive from your supplier so that you can avail the ITC. And that invoice or that debit note also needs to be declared in your GSTR 1, so that get automatically gets reflect to the GSTR 2 or 2A of the buyer. The basis of goods, what are the basis? That either goods or service have been received. First requirement is basically that invoice must be there. Second, goods or service must have been received. And the third is basically tax actually being paid by the supplier. This is one of the biggest challenge we are facing nowadays. That you have procured some goods, or you have basically availed any service from any supplier. Thereafter, you have made the payment also to them, but they have not deposited the tax to the uh, GST authority. So in such cases, ITC will not be available to you. That ITC credit will be your cost. Now you have to ensure that he has furnished the monthly return in form of GST or GST 3B, so that you can avail the ITC. Now another thing, basically you have to ensure that it's a tedious process. You have to be very careful every month to avail the 100% basically input tax credit and utilize that ITC against your output liability in the same month. So if the vendor or supplier have not submitted the GST return, then immediately inform the supplier to submit it or stop buying from that particular customer, so that there should not be any additional GST cost to you. Similarly, that if the recipient of service fails to pay, the another thing is basically that one condition is that you have to buy from a GSTN holder, and thereafter another condition is basically you have to make the payment to the supplier within 180 days. Otherwise, you have to reverse the ITC whatever you have availed along with interest. Under Rule 37, it says that you have to make the payment to the supplier within 180 days. For MSME candidate, that target, that timeline is only 45 days. Now, there is another concept of reverse charge and forward charge. So reverse charge means basically that you are buying goods from anyone who is not registered under GST law, or they are being exempted from basically GST registration. So if you are buying anything from them, then you have to, as a service receiver, you have to pay the tax and you have to take the credit of the same. That let's understand that how it is happens. In case of normal sales, supplier basically supplier pay the tax to the government. Supply receiver gives the price to the supplier, and supplier pay the tax to the government. But in case of RCM, it's altogether different. The supplier, the receiver gives the price to the supplier, but receiver pay the tax to the government. So let's understand that what are the services basically comes under reverse charge, or comes under negative list. These are the few of the services that comes under negative list. That is service by an employee to the employer, service by funeral, burial, or crematorium or mortuary, sale of land. Sale of land is basically state subject. Sale of completed building, actionable claims, then service by a court or tribunal, function of performed by the MPs, MLAs, duty performed by any person who hold any post or persons to the provision of the constitution in that capacity. So, if you are receiving any these services, you have to pay the liability under RCM, but you are not eligible to take the credit of that RCM amount. Now, what are the basically type of supply we usually see? That exempted supply, zero rated supply, nil rated supply, and non GST supply. You have to understand this. All these are basically zero rated. Now, question is basically what is the difference between this all three four type of supply, so that you can compute the reversal of the ITC for these supplies. That exempt supply means basically supplies are taxable but do not attract GST, for which ITC cannot be claimed. जैसे दूध पे, फ्रूट पे, कार्ड पे, ब्रेड पे आपको जीएसटी लगता है, बट यू आर नॉट एबल टू टेक द क्रेडिट ऑफ दैट. Now zero rated export supplies made to SEZ or SEZ developer comes under the zero rated. Nil rated is the supply that have a declared rate of 0% GST for salt, grain, jaggery, and etc. And non GST is basically these supply do not come under the purview of GST law. For example, alcohol, petrol, gas, etc. So whatever expense you are incurring for these all these services, you are not entitled to take any credit of ITC. Now, what are the items on which basically that RCM used to be attracted? That one is GTA, the Goods and Transport Agency. Legal services provided by advocate. Here, I want to mention specifically that if you have a consulting firm, then you are liable to pay GST. But if you are a basically individual advocate, then you are not, you need not to basically charge any GST on your invoices. Services provided by arbitral tribunal, sponsorship services, services supplied by an insurance agent, and service supplied by a director of a body company, and renting of motor vehicle or to a body corporate. These are the service basically comes under the RCM methodology. Now, basically, let's understand that how ITC generate and how basically its utilization used to be happen. Manufacturer produce the goods, let's say at 100 rupees, then they charge 9 rupees, assuming that 18% are the rate of GST on that particular product. That 9% GST and 9% CGST is charged if they basically they are paying, they are selling the product within the same state. Then they thereafter they send the goods to the wholesaler. They also charge, let's say that their sale price is 200%. They've availed the ITC of 18 rupees. Under scenario A, that 18 rupees of the GST that is available as a credit to them. So that's why basically here mentioned here that's 18 rupees, the 236 rupees, and the last is basically wholesaler sell to retailer and retailer sell to consumer. So here total liability is basically that paid by the paid is basically 27 rupees. Now question is basically that we have manufacturer charge only 9 rupees, then distributor charge basically 18 rupees, and then a retailer charge at 27 rupees. So this 27 is bearing by the end consumer only. Now that let's understand the that credit mechanism, how to adjust your input tax credit. As we know that all the credit used to be basically accumulated in a common pool, that IGST, CGST, SGST, irrespective of having your n number of suppliers. So if you have any balance in IGST, then you can adjust this amount against your CGST liability, SGST liability, or that unit UT GST also. But when you have a balance in your account under CGST, then you can basically adjust this against only IGST, CGST, IGST and CGST only. You cannot adjust that amount against SGST or UTGST allowance. If you have anything in your SGST, so you can adjust this amount against IGST and SGST only. And if you have UTGST, then that also basically you can adjust against IGST and SGST. Now here one catch is there, that is basically whether it is CGST, SGST or UTGST. In all cases, you have to adjust the liability against their particular segment first. Thereafter, you have to come to the IGST part. For example, CGST, you have a 100 rupee balance, and your that CGST liability is 80 rupees, and IGST liability is 120 rupees. So you have to adjust 80 rupees first, then balance 20 only you can adjust against IGST. Means you have to pay 100 rupees as IGST in cash, and rest of the amount you can adjust against your CGST ITC amount. Let's understand the electronic way bill. Let's understand the electronic way bill.
हेलो
Yes, sir.
सर, आपको मेरी आवाज आ रही है?
हाँ जी, हाँ जी.
Well, thank you so much, sir, for your valuable time. Sir, my question related to the 17.5 law credit. If I make travel for business purpose, then we are eligible to input or not, sir, on flight ticket.
Okay.
Or the I consume food and beverage in that when I'm making tour and travel for business purpose or business trip, and I got invoice on in the name of firm. In that case, what is the eligibility of input, sir? Is it eligible or not eligible?
So, see, basically, if I have if I understood your query, it, you mean to, sir, आपका voice slow हो रहा है.
सर, मैं ट्रेवल कर रहा हूँ बिजनेस ट्रिप के लिए, बिजनेस टूर के लिए.
हाँ, हाँ,
आपको मेरी वॉइस आ रही है, सर?
हाँ, हाँ, आ रहे हैं.
मेरा फ्लाइट टिकट पे जीएसटी है, जो मेरा इनवॉइस भी फर्म के नाम पे या कंपनी के नाम पे है. तो
No, it is eligible. It is very much eligible, subject to having the invoice.
ओके.
But your hotel bills,
राइट.
your for availing the uh, ITC of hotel bills, you have to have GST registered in a particular that state only.
ओके सर. राइट सर.
सपोज अगर आपकी दिल्ली में आपका ऑफिस है और आप बॉम्बे जाते हैं और वहां पे आपका जीएसटी नहीं है,
ओके.
देन आप होटल की जीएसटी का क्रेडिट नहीं ले सकते, बिकॉज एनी एनी सर्विस अटैच टू अर्थ है,
ओके सर.
उसका क्रेडिट केवल उसी स्टेट में मिलेगा जिस स्टेट में आपका रजिस्ट्रेशन है.
ओके सर.
फॉर एग्जाम्पल, लेट्स से यू हैव hotel bills. Then another thing is basically, let's say you have one hoardings in Mumbai,
ओके.
whereas you don't have any registration over there.
ओके
तो
सर.
आपको एडवर्टाइजमेंट पे इनपुट टैक्स क्रेडिट तो अवेलेबल है,
ओके.
but you are not entitled to get the credit of that because in Mumbai you don't have the GST number.
ओके सर.
जो सर्विस अगर सेम एडवर्टाइजमेंट अगर आप टीवी में देते हैं
ओके.
तो फिर आपको क्रेडिट मिलेगा, क्योंकि वो एडवर्टाइजमेंट अटैच टू अर्थ नहीं है. जो अटैच टू अर्थ है, फॉर एग्जांपल आपकी किसी भी रिटेल शॉप में जाते हैं, शॉप के सामने आपको फ्रंट फासेट में आपको एक बहुत बड़ा बोर्ड दिखता है किसी भी ब्रांड का. उस ब्रांड पे जो इनवॉइस आता है, that ITC can be availed and utilized only when that company has the registration within the same state.
It is applicable on when we are making travel for business and marketing tour, sir, like sales and marketing. I am going to Mumbai for the sales. In that case, we are eligible or not eligible, sir? Like,
फ्लाइट टिकट का मिलेगा.
okay, sir.
Not only flight ticket. Let's say you are going there and you are organizing a seminar over there for the basically for your sales people, and you that for the that room rent you cannot avail any GST credit, but for the other things, if there is any other expenses, for example, that you are arranging the sound system for your employees, you are arranging other that legitimate items which are required to give the presentation to your people, then that expense has the basically you can take the credit of that. But in related to room rent or the that what you are paying for booking that particular seminar space, that will be available to you only when you have registration within the same state. ठीक है सर? हेलो?
या सर वो जो डिस्कनेक्ट हो गया था, सॉरी सर।
ठीक है
जी
सर?
सर। सर वो आपकी वॉइस नहीं आ रही, बीच में डिस्कनेक्ट हो गया था। बोलो सर, आप क्या कह रहे थे आप?
मैं कह रहा हूँ, अगर मान लीजिए आप बॉम्बे जाते हैं, वहां पे आप सेमिनार करते हैं या
ठीक है
ट्रेनिंग
सर।
देते हैं, अपने सेल्स टीम को आप ट्रेनिंग देते हैं, तो
ओके सर।
आप एक होटल बुक करेंगे, वहां पे
ओके।
फूड फूड होगा, आपकी बहुत सारी इंस्ट्रूमेंट्स होंगे, जैसे प्रोजेक्टर होगा, आपकी लैपटॉप्स की जरूरत हो सकते हैं, या फिर आप वहां पे टेबल चेयर ये सब वो करेंगे। तो रूम रेंट जो है उसमें जीएसटी भी चार्ज होगा और बाकी चीजों में भी होगा। फूड में आपको क्रेडिट मिलेगा नहीं। जो आपको बाकी जो आपको प्रोफेशनल आइटम्स है, जैसे आपका प्रोजेक्टर, टेबल चेयर, ये इसमें जो भी खर्चा होगा उसका क्रेडिट आपको मिलेगा। और रूम रेंट का क्रेडिट आपको तब मिलेगा अगर उसी स्टेट में आपका अगर जीएसटी रजिस्ट्रेशन है तो।
Sir,
ठीक है सर?
I have a okay, sir. I have a purchase vehicle in the name of company like truck, yeah, the just truck. So in that case, we can avail the ITC on purchase of truck, which is using for making dispatch.
सर, ट्रक पे क्रेडिट केवल उनको मिलेगा वो आर रजिस्टर्ड अंडर जीटीए।
ओके ओके।
आप
अगर हम उसको सर
अगर एज ए कंपनी खरीद रहे हैं तो आपको इसका क्रेडिट नहीं मिलेगा।
एक मैन्युफैक्चरिंग कंपनी है, वो खरीदती है और अपना गुड्स लाने ले जाने के लिए उसको यूज करती है, तो इन दैट केस
नहीं मिलेगा।
दैट इज इनएलिजिबल सर। ओके
नॉट
सर।
नॉट नॉट एलिजिबल।
जस्ट एक वन क्वेश्चन मोर सर। अगर मैं आई एम ए सप्लायर, सॉरी आई एम ए रेसिपिएंट, आई एम मेकिंग ए परचेज फ्रॉम ए सप्लायर which is which letter going in NCLT, and he is unable that is unable to file their GSTR return GSTR 3B, and
राइट।
he has he has filed their return GSTR 1. In that case, I can avail the input tax. Otherwise, I have to reverse it.
There is two scenario. One is basically that after receiving of invoice, or you have made the payment to them or not.
I have make payment, sir.
If you
I have
have
make
made the
payment.
payment in along with GST,
Right, sir.
in that case you can argue, because this matter is pending before various court, and recently Calcutta, Madras, Bangalore, and Jharkhand High Court has given the positive outcome. Even Delhi High Court has given the positive this thing, that if you have made the payment to the customer and customer fails to deposit it, then that
Okay.
receiver can't be held responsible twice or thrice. So
Okay,
that
sir.
matter has been those all five High Court order has been challenged before the Supreme Court by the uh, state governments. Now it is under
Okay.
sub judice. So at
Okay,
least
sir.
you at least you have the room to basically argue, or you to basically retain the ITC. However, in case that you have not made the payment to the supplier, then it is better to reverse the ITC immediately.
Okay, sir. This matter is pending under the Supreme Court, sir.
Matter pending before Supreme Court.
ओके सर। सेकेंडरी सर, आई जो आउटवर्ड सप्लाई है, आउटवर्ड सप्लाई पे मैं आईजीएसटी पे एक्सेस डिस्चार्ज कर देता हूँ सर, ड्यू टू क्लेरिकल मिस्टेक। और सीजीएसटी एसजीएसटी पे मैं शॉर्ट पे करता हूँ कॉम्युलेटिवली। अगर कॉम्युलेटिवली मैं उसको पूरा डिस्चार्ज कर देता हूँ, कोई शॉर्ट पे नहीं है। तो
Hmm.
सक्सीडिंग ईयर में मैं उसको बाय रिड्यूसिंग आउटवर्ड लाइबिलिटी इन जीएसटी हेड, तो उसको मैं सेट ऑफ कर देता हूँ सर। बट बट वो आईजीएसटी में सेट ऑफ नहीं हुआ, सीजीएसटी एसजीएसटी के साथ हुआ, क्योंकि आईजीएसटी में मेरी सक्सीडिंग ईयर में सेल ही नहीं थी। तो इन दैट केस व्हाट विल बी सिनेरियो सर?
सी आपकी सिनेरियो भी में सी देर आर टू ongoing litigation is there. See, if it is basically rectified within your annual return,
राइट।
then you can get the benefit of this. And if it is basically not recognized by the auditor and you have filed the annual return without making that necessary changes, then you have to bear the interest liability.
ओके सर। डिपार्टमेंट सर ये कहता है कि मेरे को जो मेरा हेड है एसजीएसटी उसमें शॉर्ट डिस्चार्ज हुआ है,
नहीं
आपने
नहीं, वो
एसजीएसटी में डिस्चार्ज नहीं
बिल्कुल देन डिपार्टमेंट विल से आप उसका रिफंड ले लो और मेरा पेमेंट कर दो विद इंटरेस्ट.
किया। दिस इज द क्वेश्चन ऑफ डिपार्टमेंट सर।
नहीं नहीं,
तो
they are also up to some extent they are also basically correct. At least that the provision of annual return is just for basically making those rectifications only, because like VAT regime, no, there was option to basically file the revised return, but under GST that option for revision of return is not possible.
राइट।
That's why they have given the window to rectify each and every mistakes through by way of filing the annual return. If it is not noticed or you have not got necessary changes in the annual return, then you have to bear the liability.
सर मैं उसको जो एनुअल रिटर्न में मेंशन, क्योंकि एनुअल रिटर्न रिटर्न में क्या है, डिस्चार्ज नहीं होती लाइबिलिटी। खाली आप उसको, अगर जो आपने टीआरसी 03 किया उसके थ्रू किया, उसको आप रिपोर्ट कर सकते हो। वो मैं ऑलरेडी कर चुका। अब सक्सीडिंग ईयर में मेरी आईजीएसटी की सेल ही नहीं है, तो मैंने जो एक्सेस टैक्स पे किया है आईजीएसटी में, वो तो मैं सीजीएसटी एसजीएसटी से एडजस्ट रिड्यूस करूंगा ना सक्सीडिंग ईयर में। वो कहता है कि आपने आईजीएसटी में ही करना है, इधर से रिफंड लो, उधर से आप पे
नहीं
करो।
नहीं, वो बिल्कुल ठीक है, बिकॉज ऑप्शन ऑफ बेसिकली ट्रांसफरिंग द liability and another option is there available there, but you can move an application to the concerned jurisdictional authority to transfer the amount X whatever you have paid in under IGST to SGST and CGST equally. They may accept, they may not basically accept. Even they reject your claim, no, that at least you will have some grounds basically at the time of discharging the final liability to safeguard your interest liability.
Because I have not made short payment, sir. Cumulatively, I have
नहीं
discharged.
सर, आपकी बात ठीक है, अगर पैसा राम को देना था आपने लक्ष्मण को दे दिया, तो सर आप ये नहीं कह सकते राम का उधारी खत्म हो गया.
राइट। ओके सर। बट इस केस में सर क्या बेटर हो सकता है कि अब मेरे पास ऑप्शन रिफंड का उसका तो है नहीं।
नहीं, रिफंड का क्यों नहीं जा सकते? कौन से साल का?
19-20 सर, 19-20।
1920 आई थिंक. अभी आपके पास अभी भी टाइम है रिफंड की.
और वो फर्म भी वाइंड अप हो चुकी है सर।
तो उसमें आपको उधर 3 साल का इंटरेस्ट भी पे करना पड़ेगा.
नहीं, इंटरेस्ट तो एप्लीकेबल नहीं है इस केस में, वो तो जजमेंट है, क्योंकि मैंने अल्टीमेटली वो तो आई अपना टैक्स तो पूरा डिस्चार्ज किया है ना सर। मैंने कोई शॉर्ट पेमेंट नहीं की। हाँ, क्लेरिकल मिस्टेक जरूर कि मैंने इधर की जगह इधर पे कर दिया, लेकिन ये है कि उस केस में उधर से आप रिफंड करो और उधर से पे करो।
नहीं, आपके आप जब आपको लायबिलिटी आएगा उसमें इंटरेस्ट लिख के आएगा, इसके बाद आप क्योंकि सेक्शन 50 वो कभी नहीं छोड़ेगा वो, इसके बाद आप लड़ते रहेंगे.
अच्छा, ठीक है सर। थैंक
चलिए,
यू।
लेट्स कम टू द ई-वे बिल प्रोसेस.
राइट।
सो this E-waybill has basically is a fresh prescriptive for central tax officers and familiar ground for sales tax officer too. Another thing is basically it's purely revolutionizing GST, streamline transport, standardize process, and enhance the compliance of boosted revenue. See, each and everything covered under the e-way bill. While you are generating e-invoice, it's automatically triggered to the e-way bill system, and then gets generated the EUA bill as per the e-invoices data automatically. So, there is a basically that chances of any error, chances of basically that changing the figures practically not possible. That unified goods movement. This system also gives the basically that the a document for movement of goods from one state to another and one document for movement across the states. That is basically that streamline the consignment process also. Let's come to the basically what is the objective of the EUA bill. The first objective is one EUA bill for movement of goods throughout the country. Another option is basically hassle-free movement of goods for transported throughout the country. Third option is basically controlling the tax evasion. Once every consignment will basically accompany with the EUA bill means everything recorded and revenue is being paying as per the EUA bill itself. That comes to the no need to transit pass in any state. In GST regime, that every once basically you are moving from one state to another state, there is a huge queue in the before the checkpost Naka, where basically you used to prepare obtain the transport pass, transit pass. Then only you can move to the uh, that inside the state. Now those process has been basically completely abolished. Now the easier verification of the EUA bill by officer or with QR code. Sometimes what happens in past VAT regime, let's say that the truck driver used to having the what is called EUA bill in person, physically. Now question is basically let's say that it has been basically misplaced somewhere during transit. Now and they purchase the invoice only. So by scanning that e-invoice, they can easily check whether that e-waybill was generated during the movement of the goods or not. So now let's basically discuss the waybill benefits. The trader need not to visit tax office anymore. In VAT regime, it was manual. So trader used to basically visit the tax office to obtain the EUA bill and to pay some fees also. Uh, the professional as well as the official fee also. So now those kind of hassles is not there. Let's average waiting time at checkpost reduced drastically. Now there is no that checkpost, nothing to be basically that go through the barrier and everything. Less scope of that corruption eliminated in office or checkpost. पहले आपको कोई भी नाका पे जाते थे, पहले आपको वहां पे ऑफिसर को पैसा देना होता था. Now that has been completely enabled. Environment friendly. There is no need to basically take the printout of the what is called that EUA bill. So nearly 50 ton of paper saved per day. An accurate database created useful for tax analysis, and then basically revenue growth will be more than normal because everything covers under the portal itself. It means that evasion of tax is not possible anymore. And most importantly, that officials have that monotonous work would devote time and analytic work. पहले ही वो लोग फिजिकल में गाड़ी में चेक करते रहते थे. नाउ क्यूआर कोड से वो 2 मिनट में चेक करके उसको गाड़ी को फ्री कर देते हैं. Now the document to be carried by a person in charge of the conveyance. So now that the invoice or bill or supply of delivery challan in case of a case maybe. Now question is basically what is the difference between invoice or delivery challan? So invoice is basically that once that your sale is confirmed, then you will raise the invoice where basically that you are sending goods on approval basis. Section 55 says that you can send the goods through delivery challan also, but it is only for 6 months time only. If it is not sold within 6 months, then you have to return back the goods to the supplier. That a copy of the UE bill and UE bill number and RFID code, everything will be available on the UE bill itself. These are the documents is required to be carried by the truck driver. Now, let's basically know the parameters, basically when and why UE bill is required. So you will is basically know that any goods more than 50,000 is requires to basically having a UA bill along with the challan or invoice. It's applicable from the 1st April of 2008. UA bill can be generated or extended or cancelled through UA bill website or through SMS or by site to site integrable through API also. An UA bill is generated in the unique UA bill number EBN is allotted. Now, question is basically UA bill. How many component you have for generating UA bill? UA bill having the part A and part B. Part A means that you have to fill all the details of the buyer and generate it. Then once transporter basically pick the material from the supplier or go down, they will basically generate the part B. Once basically part B is generated, it means good has been shipped from the premises of the supplier. So and a EUA bill can be basically cancelled within 24 hours only, or after generating part A, you can retain it for 15 days. After basically that what is called generating part B, then it is not practically or legally possible to cancel the UA bill. So how to extend the validity of your bill? For example, that you have selected the state from Noida to Maharashtra. That it was supposed to, as per Waybill, it is supposed to reach there by 3 days. But due to flood or any other reason, or unforeseen reason, for example, that vehicle breakdown or for strike, riot, anything, that you will gets expired. That time limit has been validity has been expired. Then you have the option to extend the timeline by giving the proper reason. So how to do this? Basically, you have to basically choose the. You have to visit the UABL system. You have to insert your credentials, and and after login, you have to do the select, and then you have the extend validity period. You have to click at the extend validity, and you can basically give the tentative timeline to reach there. Similarly, that UA will extend automatically. That UA will number will come here. Let's say you have 100 numbers of UA will, then out of that particular UA will which needs to be get extended, you have to choose from the drop down, and then you have to save it in the system, and automatically it will extend the validity period. Now, for example, that in between there is a possible that due to breakdown or for any reason that you need to change the car number also, or there's a scenario where maybe basically that from Delhi to Indore you have sent the material through by air, and thereafter you have chosen a truck to basically deliver the goods at the location. So all those options are available in the UOL portal, where you have to just select the right portal as and when you are changing the mode of transport. The process of cancellation of UA bill. So if the goods were never transported, or that and then generator of such UA bill can cancel the UA bill following these steps. Similarly, you have to again you have to visit the UA bill portal, and the option is available in the drop down, and you have to select and you have to cancel. Now question is basically that once basically, for example, that movement has been start from Noida to let's say Haryana. In Delhi, one of the officer has basically scanned the document during their that mobile squad staff might have been basically scanned the vehicle, and they seen whether all the goods are matching with the invoice or not. In that case, once basically that officer has been scanned once, that cannot be cancelled for sure. But in case basically, let's say that material reached to the destination, and then thereafter that buyer has basically rejected the material due to poor quality of the good or damage of the boxes or for any reason, then within 72 hours you have to basically that need to file an grievance in the GST portal for the same, and then you have a option to basically generate another UA bill for return. The similar way that if the vehicle background is there, the same option is available to update the vehicle number. By following these steps, you can basically update the vehicle number also. Here is the one basically example I have given, that updating the multiple modes of transportation. For example, that by road start with DL truck from up to Mumbai, from Mumbai to basically that then air up to Kochi, and then again to by ship Sri Lanka. So this way you can basically you have the option in the portal itself to update the mode of transport time to time. Let's basically come to the penalty, fines and penalty. The section 120 is 122 is the one of the specific laws for basically imposing fine and penalty. So if there is any no suppression of facts, or there is basically that unintentional mistakes, then that liability would be maximum liability would be 10,000 or amount equal to the tax evaded. But in case basically there is no movement of goods, that in case of fake invoices, then that liability is basically not only up to the equivalent to the tax evaded, plus the ITC claimed you have already can basically that they can refuse to give the credit of that also. Under section 122(3), that above penalty of 10,000 could be increased to 25,000 also. For example, that you have generated everything, but forget to put your company seal and stamp. It is a minor error, unintentional error. In that case, basically that maximum penalty can be 10,000. Let's come to the detention and seizure. Sections 129 speaks about the detention and seizure. There is a two scenario that how to basically detention used to be happens. One is basically that owner accept the ownership, and owner is unidentified. In case of owner is basically accepted the ownership, in that case basically they have equal to the they can charge, if it is taxable goods, up to the 100%. If it is exempted goods, that is equal to the 2% of the value of goods, or rupees 25,000, whichever is less will be charged. In case of owner is unidentified, then that equal to the 50% of the penalty, or 5% of the exempted good, or 25,000, whichever is less. In that case, they also basically used to take the bank guarantee for such lapses. Let's come to the basically point to be remembered. See, usually we used to that every the dealer used to busy in basically doing their increasing their business only, but they used to forget a few basic compliance issue points which I'm highlighting here. One is basically that movement of goods of value of INR 50,000 and above, e-waybill is mandatory. The e-waybill can be generated by supplier, recipient, or transporter. Anyone can generate this. The e-waybill is invalid without vehicle number or transportation more than 10,000 10 kilometer. Up to 10 kilometer, you can move the goods without having the UA bill. But here is a basically catch. So this is allowed only for the vehicle, commercial vehicle, which are basically owned or that specifically used by transporter only. If you are basically, in case you are basically transporting any goods through your own vehicle, then be careful. Vehicle number can be entered by generator, UAV or transporter. Then the generator of the UAV can cancel within 24 hours only. Validity of UAV is 1 day or for every 100 kilometers or part of it. So let's say that distance between Noida to Chennai is, let's say, 500, 2000 kilometer. So they will basically, system will automatically allocate the timeline validity period considering 100 kilometers per day. Recipient of the consignment can accept the reject UA bill if does not belongs to him within 72 hours of generation. This only recipient can cancel. The conveyance shall carry a copy of invoice, bill of charge, and UA bill and UA bill number. The no way the UA bill can be edited or amended. Transportation vehicle detail can be updated by any number of times till the goods reaches to the destination within validity period. Validity of the UA will start from the first entry of the part B only, not from the generation of UA bill or part A. UA bill generated invalid for movement of goods. It is not updated with part B if the travel distance is more than 10 km. Consolidated UA bill does not have any specific validity. It depends upon the UA bills attached to it. Now, basically comes to the accounts and record management. See, this is one of the biggest challenge we are facing. Every industry player is facing nowadays because we have very limited space, whereas the number of documents need to be basically maintained for 6 years is huge. So if anyone have the scan copy of the each document, then it is equally sufficient like that physical document available in your possession. So you can keep the document soft by way of maintaining soft copy as well as physical copy also. So the timeline is basically 6 years. You have to maintain the records for production, the production of manufacturing of the goods, inward outward supply of goods, inventory, input tax credit availed, output tax payable and paid, means purchase invoice and sale invoice, and proper filing records at the your GST return and everything you need to maintain at your place. And these 6 years compute from the date of filing of your annual return, not at the from the date of last date of your financial year. It's basically compute from the date of filing of your annual return only. If there are more than one premises, then it is required to be kept books of accounts related to the respective premises of branches at such place of business only. In case, suppose within UP you have 10 branches and you want to keep all the records in one place, then you have to intimate to your jurisdictional authority before doing so. As per law, you are required to maintain the records at the premises itself. GST registration certificate and other registration in any must be displayed in property on wall. And recently, there is one instruction has been given by the CBIC just 1 week back. Every registered dealer must have displayed the nameplate along with its proper address, contact number, GSTN number, and that GST certificate needs to be basically displayed on the properly on the wall of the business premises. Otherwise, they will impose penalty of up to 50,000 rupees. So, if it is not basically available at this moment on your premises, they immediately do it. Now let's come to the basically that appeal this thing that what are the parameter for filing appeal in case there is any liability imposed by the any authority due to any classification dispute or for any reason, then this is the parameter for filing appeal. So for fast appellate authority, any assessment order against any assessment order, you have to go to the first appellate authority, and that once that appeal order basically gets rejected, then you have to go to tribunal, then tribunal rejected, then have to go to a high court and thereafter supreme court. The 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 monetary limits for filing appeal is before appeal before gested that tribunal is basically 20 lakhs. Appeal before High Court is basically 1 crore, and appeal before Supreme Court is basically 2 crore limit. This limit is for government only. It is not like that you are basically dealer has no authority to basically go to the Supreme Court even if that amount of litigation is below 2 CR. Government cannot go Supreme Court. See, in case High Court basically gives an one judgment against the department, that amount is basically 1.5 cr, then government cannot basically challenge that high court order before the supreme court, because up to 2 crore rupees they are not authorized to go to the supreme court. This monetary limit has been prescribed to avoid multiple litigation and to basically have the basically ease of doing business things. So that's it from my side. Now, if you have any query questions, please let me know.
हेलो सर, आवाज आ रही है आपको?
हाँ जी बोलिए।
सर मेरा क्वेश्चन है कि मैं आई हैव अपील अंडर 107. हेलो,
हाँ जी बताएं।
filing of appeal का टाइम है 3 months from date of order passed by adjudicating authority, sir. But I the opportunity of first rectification order, rectification application under section 161.
Yes.
रेक्टिफिकेशन एप्लीकेशन का जो टाइम है वो 6 मंथ है सर।
बिल्कुल
तो
है। नहीं,
इन
सी यहाँ पे थोड़ा सा मैं आपको क्लैरिफाई करूं। आप अगर अप्लाई करें तो आपके पास टाइमलाइन केवल 3 मंथ्स का है। Authority can basically rectify its own order within 6 months time.
ओके सर,
आपको एप्लीकेशन 3 महीने में करना है।
रेक्टिफिकेशन एप्लीकेशन फाइल करता हूँ, अथॉरिटी उसको रिजेक्ट करती है, आप 3 मंथ अपील का टाइम निकल जाता है 3 मंथ वाला।
नहीं वो आपका फ्रॉम द डेट ऑफ दैट रिजेक्शन दैट योर 3 मंथ्स टाइम लिमिट विल बेसिकली स्टार्ट अगेन।
ओरिजिनल ऑर्डर CRC 07।
नहीं आपका जब आपका 161 का जब ऑर्डर आएगा उस डेट से आपका 3 मंथ स्टार्ट होगा।
बट डिपार्टमेंट कहता है कि ये जो ओरिजिनल ऑर्डर DRC 07 आपका 3 मंथ वहीं से जो स्टार्ट होगा, आपको कंडोनेशन ऑफ डिले देनी पड़ेगी अगर अपील फाइल करनी है तो।
नहीं, ऐसे अगर आप रेक्टिफिकेशन के लिए दिए और दे हैव एंटरटेन योर रिक्वेस्ट, देन दे कैन नॉट से दिस।
ओके, बट अगर
वो नॉन रेस्पॉन्सिव रहता है तब वो कह सकते हैं भाई आपने पहले उधर गए थे, उधर नहीं दिया तो आप आ रहा हूं तो कंडोनेशन डिले है।
अगर स्टार्टिंग में ही हमने अपील फाइल कर दी तो रेक्टिफिकेशन का लॉजिक क्या रह गया सर? अगर फिक्स डिपॉजिट वहीं पे कर दिया 10% तो रेक्टिफिकेशन का तो
नहीं, इसीलिए कह रहा हूँ, तो आपको कंडोनेशन डालने की जरूरत नहीं है।
ओके सर, डिपार्टमेंट
सर आज के डेट में आप लोगों को तो पता नहीं है।
हेलो,
हाँ जी सर बताइए।
सर यही पॉइंट था सर।
सर नित्यानंद जी,
Thank sir. Thanks a lot for your valuable contribution to our Vidya Vijay Foundation. We gain a lot of knowledge from you and from your experience as well. We are very much thankful
It's my basically, it's a great honor
to
to be
you. Am I
part of
audible?
this group, sir. I'll request if you have any specific issue points to basically to have another round of discussion. फॉर एग्जांपल अपील है, फिर आपकी
Please, please.
आज की आपका शोकॉज नोटिस है, DRC 01 है, फेक इनवॉइस है, देयर आर एन नंबर ऑफ थिंग्स आर देयर. If you, if anyone needs any sort of that basic information about those specific transaction, then please ping me. I'll basically love to share with you all.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. And certainly we will take another 1 hour in whatever the time. And certainly we will also raise certain questions and certainly will be benefited from your knowledge. So thank you. Thank you, sir. And
Thank you. Thank you.
thank you for a very valuable time. Yes, Miss Aska, vote of thanks.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir.
So I stand here today as proud and grateful to express my heartfelt thanks to all those who have made this session possible. I would like to start by thanking Vidya Vijay Foundation who have always been supportive and encouraged us to strive for excellence. I would also like to extend my gratitude to Mr. Bivesh who have been our guiding lights, imparting wisdom and knowledge to us and nurturing our talents. Their unwavering support has been instrumental in our growth and development. I would like to express my appreciation to our guests who have taken time out of their busy schedule to grace this occasion with their presence. Your presence has added an extra spark to this session and made it even more special. I request everyone to share their email IDs and names for the certificates. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot.
Thank
Thanks a
you,
lot,
sir.
sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Very good session.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Highly obliged.